As the showdown with Jake Paul approaches, Anthony Joshua's camp has become the center of attention, not just because of the intensity in his training clips, but because of the dramatic changes behind the scenes. His drills show sharp pacing, controlled footwork, and a level of discipline that signals he's preparing with purpose. The biggest shock isn't a new routine, it's the shift in personnel. Joshua has moved on from the Ben Davison chapter and begun working with coaches linked to Oleksandr Usyk, operating far from London in a quieter base. It's a massive strategic pivot. He's adopting concepts from the man who defeated him twice, aiming to refine the weaknesses that cost him before. Reports confirming the switch sparked a wave of commentary. Dillian White and other UK critics argue Joshua's constant camp changes show uncertainty, adding fuel to both media debate and internal motivation.
Hearing this is true that AJ has gone out to train with Oleksandr Usyk's team. So I don't know if that means Oleksandr Usyk per se, but Oleksandr Usyk's team. I have no issues with that at all. Some people might sort of throw out the phrase, if you can't beat them, join them. AJ's always kind of done that. A lot of fighters do this as well, by the way, but when it's AJ, it's big noise. A lot of fighters go to camps and spend a couple of weeks in a camp. Like, most fighters do it, in fact. They'll go to a camp, spend a couple of weeks, Obviously, it looks a bit different because AJ Usyk, but most fighters do that. I mean, there's no problem sort of soaking up knowledge and seeing how people do things. Like, why would you not want to see how one of the greatest heavyweights in the world trains and what he's doing over there? You'd want to see it. I don't know if it means AJ's going to jump ship and be trained by Oleksandr Usyk's team. I doubt that very much. But I don't see...
Insiders say Joshua's sparring selections are tight and deliberate, southpaws to reflect Paul's odd angles, faster heavyweights to recreate Jake's pace. Sessions are built around short, explosive rounds that push conditioning and simulate rapid-fire exchanges. Coaches rotate sparring partners frequently, exposing Joshua to a spread of styles, offer the movers, quick-handed punchers, and fighters who force clinch battles. Meanwhile, Jake Paul's training decisions have taken over the conversation in analyst circles. Rumors point to Don Charles, the trainer connected to Daniel Dubois, joining Paul's corner. That alone sparked a wave of speculation since Dubois holds a stoppage win over Joshua, and Charles played a role in shaping him. Analysts suggest Paul may be intentionally tapping into symbolism and psychology. Wade goes further, hinting Paul could even seek guidance from Ben Davison, Joshua's former trainer, who is currently unattached and available.
Other fighters as well. I think Josh Taylor as well. So that would be a guy that's potentially being brought in to work with Jake, but I don't know that Ben Davison would do that. I don't know if just as AJ leaves to go train with, and this is why I say Ben Davison, AJ has left to go and train with Usyk's team. Left Ben Davison, go train with Usyk's team. I don't know, because their relationship is so good, I don't know that Ben Davison would just turncoat on AJ and help somebody prepare for him. Don't think that would happen, unless it was like a Tyson Fury who he already had a relationship with. So that leaves another individual. That leaves Mr. Don Charles. Don Charles, British boxing trainer, known for coaching Derek Chisora, but also known for coaching one Daniel Dubois, who just so happened, as you see here in this little very small picture down on the right side here, just so happened to, as of earlier this year, absolutely chin and stop AJ in dramatic, epic fashion in AJ's triumphant return after AJ stopped Francis Ngannou and had all his confidence back and was fighting for a world title. And Daniel Dubois said, "No, sir, not tonight." If this is true, it makes things very interesting. Don Charles was in a pretty much chaotic camp. If you guys remember with Daniel Dubois, it was like Daniel Dubois' dad was also kind of training him, which was an issue with Shane McGuigan when he was there. And then Don Charles came in and it was chaos in the corner, and Don was trying to coach and couldn't really do it. And a lot of people thought that Don didn't get his fair shake when it came to Daniel Dubois, and got a lot of the blame for Dubois losing to Usyk just a couple of months ago. But he is a very good trainer and a guy that just worked on a game plan to beat Anthony Joshua. Now, again, Daniel Dubois is also 6'4" and 250 pounds with a crazy reach. So you can't teach Jake Paul that. What will Don Charles teach to Jake if that's...
While coaching rumors swirl, Henry, a podcast analyst, breaks down the physical reality. He notes Paul is hovering near 127 pounds while Joshua carries roughly 245. On paper, the gap seems modest, but Henry stresses the fight isn't about the scale. It's about the goal and endurance, composure, height, and battle-tested conditioning. Joshua has survived deep, high-pressure rounds against elite heavyweights. Paul has never experienced that level of sustained intensity. nor has he been pushed into the late-round trenches by world-class competition.
But whatever, and I'll still be able to go and fight MMA fighters and all that sort of thing. I think he well knows that he could lose against someone much worse than Joshua, so why not just do it? At the same time, yeah, it's entirely possible he also thinks he could genuinely put a dent in Joshua and win this fight, which is mad. The other factors are the circumstances of the fight. You know, it's an 8-rounder, so Jake may even be thinking, well, maybe I can out-jab him for a round and run around. I'm quicker than him, potentially. Maybe my gas tank's better than his. Potentially, I can do this for 8 rounds. I'm going to say now I don't think his gas tank is better than AJ's, and there's another reason why that's definitely not going to be the case, in my opinion. But Jake might be telling himself this. Or worst case scenario, I am getting hurt. He is winning the fight, but I can run around for 8 rounds, make AJ look silly. I can frustrate him, get through it on a points loss, which would be a giant win for Jake and a massive, massive loss for AJ if he just won this fight on points. The other thing is the fact that they're putting in a weight clause in this fight. So there is a maximum weight limit for the fight. Apparently, Anthony Joshua can't weigh more than 245 pounds. And just to give you context for what that means, Anthony Joshua's previous weights, Daniel Dubois, he was 252 and a quarter, Francis Ngannou, 252 and a half, Wallen, 251, Helenius, 250, Franklin, 255. And then the Usyk fights, he was in the 240, so 240 and 244 and a half. Basically, it's a weight that Anthony Joshua hasn't been in 3 years. But also, Anthony Joshua, as a heavyweight, has never had to cut weight. So even if he is in the 250s, let's say he's the same weight as Ngannou, it's a 7-pound water cut, which isn't really much when you're a man as big as Anthony Joshua, if indeed that's what he decides to do, rather than just taking the weight off anyway. And if he does decide to take the weight off anyway, what we'll see is someone who's got better stamina. But again, I think this gives Jake Paul confidence. He thinks, well, I'll come in probably around about 220. He was 227 when he fought Mike Tyson, so he'll probably be thinking, well, it might only be a 20-pound weight difference, which is not insurmountable. I'm talking as if I'm Jake Paul right now, just to reiterate. And if he does decide to cut water weight, which maybe they know Joshua's pretty big right now because he's not been fighting for a while. I think he's been in some sort of training camp. But another factor is Joshua's coming off the back of an elbow surgery. He had an issue for a while.
Johnny Nelson's assessment is blunt. He believes Paul made a reckless choice. In his view, the danger massively outweighs the upside. Nelson argues Paul could have kept building his resume with manageable opponents, but instead vaulted straight toward one of the most physically threatening heavyweights of this era. Joshua's blend of experience, timing, power, and precision makes him a serious risk for anyone, and Nelson warns that a single lapse could end Paul's night instantly.
And Jake Paul, you know what? There's still something inside of me, that just tells me it's not going to happen. And I don't know why. Because all the press and the money's been spent on building this up. I'm like, there's something inside me thinking, this ain't going to happen, even to the point where Jake Paul's hired Don Charles to be his coach or assistant coach or be involved in the team. You know, so he's making all the moves, and I just thought, if there's not a fix, if there's not some kind of settlement, this, and it is legit, as I say it is, he's 10 ounce gloves over 8 rounds. It baffles me why Jake Paul would do it unless he's cashing out. I said it last week. I'll say it next week. I just think, is this gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? I just don't know. I'm struggling. Don't